Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing the coffee book tag. I saw this going around, and what it essentially is a like a coffee flight with books. So multiple different types of coffees and the books that they're associated with, and I'm gonna tell you about them. I got a coffee, you get a coffee, we do it together. First coffee is a black coffee, or a book that's hard to get into but has hardcore fans. Now this is just going to be an opportunity for me to plug my other favorite book of all time, because I plugged Love Theoretically in another video recently. If you are familiar with the channel, you may know this to be one of my favorite books of all time, right? This is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivie Blake. Look how crazy my cover looks. But this was the indie copy that she published first. I feel like every time I describe it, I highlight a different portion of it, because every time that I've read it, I've emphasized a different part of it. But I think the first time, I did not think it was a love story. I was very upset and unsatisfied by the way that I felt like some things happened. I still thought the writing was good. I still thought the story was good. I felt really swept away by the characters. But I was like, okay, this says a love story on the cover. Where's the love? So that's kind of what I took away with my first read. My second read, I read it not trying to see it as a love story and trying to see them as individual people, which sounds like, yeah, you did that the first time. No, it's really a different experience. The second read, I literally focused on Aldo and I focused on Reagan as separate people, as characters, that their interactions with each other happened in the story and then moved on. And I think that allowed for me in my third read to read it as the love story that it actually is. I think this is a perfect love story. The way that you get to know the characters and what they need and what they don't need, and how they feel seen and how they get overstimulated, and then you see the other person cater to that. I don't know, I think it's real, I think it's raw, I think it's authentic. The Peppermint Mocha, a book that gets more popular in the winter/holiday season. I feel like I see a little life circulate every Christmas, Thanksgiving, and holiday season. This is a heavy book, literally and metaphorically. It's been about 2 years since I've read it. Now that I'm looking back, I'm like, why did I even need to read this in the first place? I did read like the Wikipedia synopsis, which is very like detailed for you. So I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, but somehow reading it between the pages was way worse. Obviously, it's beautifully written. I cried quite a few times. Like, this is nothing to the storytelling and the artistry. It's just the fact that it's like really heavy. I'll let you do your research on this book if you're more interested in it. I gave you my 2 cents. Hot Chocolate, my favorite children's book. My girl. I might be Junie B. Jones for Halloween. Yeah, the books that I remember reading most as a kid, and just over time, because you know she came out with the first grader series as well, so I felt like I grew up with Junie B. Jones. Junie B. Jones was bad. Junie B. Jones was bad. I think my love for reading, and especially interconnected standalones, because that's what this is. I think my love for reading can be traced back here. Hardworking Puppies. Now, a little backstory about Hardworking Puppies, because I don't know that it's been on the channel yet. In 2006, I read everything on my summer reading list, and that meant that my name got to sit inside of this book at the public library. Something can't be 2 places at once. You have it in your hands. How's it in the library? I thought that meant that it was mine to keep, so I stole it. As much as a 6-year-old can steal something, I stole it and I didn't return it. I've now been made aware since that my mother did replace it. $16 she had to give the library because I took this book. Wouldn't you say it was worth it, Michelle? Double Shot of Espresso, a book that keeps you on the edge of your seat. I'm gonna say An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This is another one that's just so hard to describe because it's so good and so layered. It's not like a thriller or anything. This is historical fiction, you know, think like that. A black couple in the South in Jim Crow era, okay? And the husband is accused of doing something to a white woman, and that like changes the trajectory of not only his life but their marriage. It just shows the realities of how things start to really crumble around you depending on what circumstances you're in, right? Like at the start of the book we saw them in love and freshly married and planning for different things. Let's just say that's not how the story ends. I feel like you know a book feels real when there's a couple of POVs, and each time you read a POV you're upset at the other people, but when you're in that other person's POV you're also upset. So it's like you know that each person is real and genuine and authentic, and that just makes the story so much better and so much more impactful. I listened to this for the first time when I was driving. I just remember my jaw being dropped the whole time. Like, crazy book, crazy story, crazy the way that this unfolds. I've reread this book twice now, and it's one that I would still want to pick up, still want to read again. Starbucks, a book that you see everywhere. I'm sure everyone else has seen this too. This is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, which is also being turned into a film. So exciting. This is probably one of Freida's best thrillers, but I think where we started to go wrong is turning this into a series. We're at like book 3. I think she was done after book 3, but honestly even book 2 dragged. This is your standard typical psychological suspense novel, and specifically typical Freida novel. But I do recommend this one. I love it. It is just frustrating. It is just frustrating when things don't end as amazing as they started. Okay, this says Hipster Coffee Shop, a book that's underrated. I'm gonna say Americanah. And maybe this is not even as underrated as I think it is. I just don't think I see a lot of people talk about this book. I feel like it was really transformative. Not only the way that I read and processed and comprehend things, but the themes talked about as well. This is another one where I feel like the story is just so well thought out. And I know that some people might think that should just come with any book, but that is so not the case. Last year and the year before, I read so much rubbish that sometimes reading a plot still kind of surprises me. Reading a good plot sometimes still kind of surprises me. Star-crossed lovers, taking place back and forth between Nigeria and the US. Ifemelu and Ubinze are young and in love, but they end up getting separated. And so Ifemelu comes to the US to study and learn, but that doesn't always, you know, that's difficult and hard, and she struggles with what it means to be black in America, and not necessarily just to be African, or to be, I guess, the grappling with race and ethnicity in the United States and what we have made it into. Meanwhile, Obinze is in Nigeria. It's sort of in Nigeria, but also ends up in London undocumented, and we see things unfold with him. These books are similar in the way that at first reading, you might not think that concluded the way that you wanted it to, but then you look back and it concluded exactly the way that it should have. You gotta give credit where credit's due. Perfect Blend, a book that had the perfect mix of characters and writing. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you've read some of her books before, then you may be familiar with the infamous McReva. This is the story of his children. And boy, is it a story. So it's Malibu in the 80s, I think the end of summer, and the Revas are throwing their like big summer party. So it's 4 siblings. Nina, who we kind of hear from the most, she's like a surfer and a supermodel. Jay and Hud are the brothers, and then Kat is the little baby sister. And again, these are all McReva's kids. This book takes place in 24 hours from the start of the party to the end of the party and a little bit, after. Oops, I accidentally got decaf, a book that you were expecting more from. I'm just gonna answer this question how I want to answer it, but I will say, what's the name of this series? Let me look it up. Oh, I'd say the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. This first book took over Book Talk and Bookstagram, and I loved it. Okay, I loved it. You're not gonna catch me up. I thought it was written well. It's YA. It's like Hunger Games-esque, Divergent-esque. Think that frame of mind. So this one, don't really have any complaints about. You got your enemies to lovers, your back and forth, your will they, won't they, the tension. He wants to kiss her, but he also needs to kill her type moment. So this one I have no complaints about. But it's this one, and then the third one that I'm not even gonna read. Ooh, Lauren, we dropped the ball a little bit. All of the progress that we made in Powerless, because again, remember, I feel like this one was exquisitely done. The tension was perfect. The slow dancing and the longing and all of that was great, okay? Everything we got here was nowhere to be found between these pages. And then we ended with like the most cliche. I just had no desire to read the third book. I haven't, probably won't. Green Tea, a book that is serene. I'm gonna say Circe by Madeline Miller. So this is the retelling of the goddess that you see a little bit in the Odyssey. This, I don't know much about. Like, I remember having to read the Odyssey, the Iliad. I don't even know what the difference is. And seeing some of those characters in here, like Icarus, Odysseus, like seeing my friends from high school. Why I think this is serene is because it just feels like a book for the women, right? Circe was the underdog, hated on, kicked on, beat on, battered on, and we get to see her go out and say, you know what, I'm gonna make the best of my situation. I'm gonna go out here with these animals, I'm gonna lure men, I'm gonna kill them. Wait, I don't know if I can say that. I'm gonna lure men, I'm gonna end them. And I like that. And I think I like that. And she came, in my opinion, she came out on top in the end. This was also drama, politics. She negotiated her way in and out of certain things. And she also took what she wanted when she wanted it. I just felt like this is feminism. Earl Grey Tea, a classic book that you love. Now, I wouldn't say I just sit and read the classics, but at one point in time, I was required to read 1984 by George Orwell, and I did read it, and I did enjoy it. So we're just gonna say that this counts. This is about Big Brother, right? And Winston, yeah. So I know, and Eurasia, I read. No one can deny the novel's hold on the imaginations of whole generations or the power of its admonitions, a power that seems to grow, not lessen, with the passage of time. Yeah, we sure are in it right now. Okay. And finally, Chai Tea, a book with exotic appeal. I'm just gonna say the book that I'm most excited to start soon, which is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. But I do think this has exotic appeal. I know that it's set in the same universe as the Roman Carver kid, as Divine Rivals. However, this duology is YA, and this is new adult. I'm excited to read it. Apparently there are still letters, which is a big part of the communication and correspondence in Ruthless Vows and Divine Rivals. So excited to see Rebecca do that again. And I think this is going to be fun. We'll probably dive into this week. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I love doing tags like this and challenges because it does remind you why you enjoyed some of the books that it's been years since you've read. And now I'm looking at them like, okay, some of these need a reread, so adding more to that never-ending reread TBR. Make sure that you are following me on Goodreads, on TikTok, and on Instagram. The links to all of those are in the description down below. Until the next video, only say positive things to yourself.